Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Guru Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. A hearty welcome to one and all for the session 2 of our ongoing study of selected Bhagavad Gita verses for daily living. The Bhagavad Gita is the divine song of the Lord, a symphony to be played, felt, and lived through our tanmatras, jnanendriyas, and karmendriyas. When this song is truly experienced, it dissolves into a profound silence. As mentioned in the Yoga Vasista, one needs to be able to observe silence from all his indriyas and avastas, which is possible only by Gita as a song to our dance every day, every hour, every minute, and every second. With this, in our previous session, we explored some of the important verses. In today's session, we are glad to have with us our respected speakers, Sri Shivakumar sir explaining the verse 15.6, Sri Vinayakan explaining the verse 2.45, Dr. Anupama ma'am explaining the verse 2.69, and Srimati Purnima Prasanna will explain the verse 3.21. At the end of the talk, each speaker will ask a couple of questions on the topic, which will be answered by the moderator. So, today's session will be moderated and enriched with powerful insights by Dr. Divakar sir, making today's teaching truly engaging and impactful. Over to you, Dr. Divakar sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Radha. ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोग्धा गोपालनन्दना पार्थो वत्सः सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत् वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्. With profound gratitude and salutation to Bhagavan Krishna, all the Guru Paramparas, starting from Adi Shankaracharya up unto Asmadacharya Paramarthananda ji, and to Dr. Timappa sir and the fellow seekers from the Param Vedanta group. It's a great opportunity for us to revise Bhagavad Gita once again. As we all know, Bhagavad Gita is one of the Prasthanatrayas. It is the Smruti Prasthana, which means what? In addition to Upanishads and Brahma Sutras, it is recommended that Bhagavad Gita must be at least learned by all the seekers who are truly seeking this self-knowledge, who want to really get out of this so-called samsara. Of course, what is samsara? Anything which is body and mind and related to that jagat is samsara. So Bhagavad Gita answers everything for all of us. Most of us, we are all in the pravritti marga. We are in the gruhastha marga. We may be students, we may be working, but we are all in the engaging. We are all very active in our day-to-day lives. And we go through our ups and downs. We know the limitations of this day-to-day lives. And how do we navigate ourselves through this upheavals of day-to-day issues? You turn to Bhagavad Gita. Recently, when we visited Swamiji at Chennai, He gave this example. Whenever we are stuck, what do we use? We use the GPS. We use the Google Maps. He mentioned we must all have GPS, which is the Gita positioning system, Gita map, as our navigatory tool, because that will take us to a place where we can navigate through our day-to-day issues. So we have this life lessons which are from Bhagavad Gita, especially designed for all of us who are in this active pravrutti marga, to all the gruhasthas. How to remain stable and happy despite the chaos around us. And that answer is very much given in Bhagavad Gita. So, in order to extract this wisdom, this immortal wisdom, what do we need to do? First of all, identify whether we really have a problem or not. If we don't recognize the problem that we all have our deficiencies, especially if we identify with the body mind, there are deficiencies, there are shortcomings, there are issues with it. We may be very buoyant, we may be very, we may have bravado and say we don't have any problem. But people who don't have problem now may get a problem later on. What may? And they will get a problem because body will decay. It is a kshetram. It is that which perishes over a period of time, be it in the form of some medical ailment or some bereavements in the family or whatnot. So knowing those limitations that we go through, that is the identification of the problem that we have. Then we need to start to recognize that the current remedies which are available for us at our disposal is not sufficient to give me the complete happiness and absolute stability. Therefore, you turn to look for answers. And there you look for a guru. And for that sake, one has to surrender to the guru. So we have seen it in the second chapter also, where Arjuna turns to Krishna. He surrenders to Guru, and only then the friend Krishna, the driver Krishna, becomes the Jagat Guru. And Krishna starts to give the self-knowledge which is beyond this ephemeral world. That is the eternal knowledge. And what does he teach? Straight away he teaches the highest knowledge, which is the Sankhya Yoga. We are going to see some of the verses from this chapter today. That highest knowledge is taught in the second chapter. Luckily for all of us, Arjuna did not get much of that. Therefore, Krishna had to extend his teaching till the 18th chapter. Therefore, signifying the deficiencies and limitations in our minds to understand this subtle subject of the self-knowledge. So therefore, Krishna takes Arjuna back to two more steps. So goes backward and teaches him how to purify the mind, how to make the mind more calmer through the Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga paths. And then the self-knowledge is taught again in the later chapters of Bhagavad Gita. And then the vision of the Aikyam, the limited Jiva, Jivatma, and the macrocosmic Paramatma, the Jivatma Paramatma Aikya Vichara is talked about. And with that, Arjuna understands the full knowledge and he can see that, okay, he has got this knowledge and he can carry on doing his activities. So we all are like Arjunas. We all are in a bit of a battlefield only every day. You can imagine this Gita was taught to Arjuna in a battlefield. Of course, it has significance for us because every day is a bit of a battlefield for us. It may be outside or most of the times it is inside our mind. So how do we navigate through this battlefield? That is the mantra. That is the lessons given in the Gita. So identify the problem, surrender to the Guru, purify the mind with Karma Yoga because mind is full of impurities, and then stabilize the mind with Upasana Yoga, which is nothing but lot of meditative practices. That is all covered in the second six chapters of the Bhagavad Gita. And then gain the self-knowledge through Shravanam, through a competent guru. And here we have Sri Krishna himself teaching, and luckily we have extremely competent and a Sthita Prajna Guru Paramarthananda ji, who has really dissected this teachings and offered to us in a platter. So we have been very, very lucky to be receiving this delicious meal of Gita. And then anchoring to this knowledge, not just gaining through Shravanam, get rid of all the doubts through Mananam, and anchor in this knowledge through Nididhyasanam, and live a life as a Jivan Mukta, which is a state of complete stability in the mind and being happy despite the chaos around us. Now, this is the journey from a limited wave which has its own names and form to identifying with the ocean. In other words, it's actually identifying with the water. It's not even the ocean. If we are identifying with our body mind, it has its own limitations. It has a time of arrival and time of departure, whereas the water has no arrival and departure. You can compare this wave to Jivatma and ocean to Paramatma. We have heard this example so many times, but we need to keep repeating the same example because that is also a form of Nididhyasana. That in essence is the practical wisdom given by Bhagavad Gita. So all of this starts from our limited identification with the wave, which is nothing but the body mind. That is the ignorance, that is the avidya. With that arises our desires, our kama, avidya, kama, karma. And then because of that, we continue to do a lot of actions as if to satisfy this body and mind, as if to deal with our problem. Albeit all these problems are dealt with temporarily, but they come back again in a different shape or form. So one will have to transcend that in order to deal with, bigger problems in life, including that of death. We will realize that the death is only for the wave form, but not to the water. So that is the message we will gain. So here in this session today, we have 4 profound verses. As mentioned earlier, we have verses taken from different chapters, one from 15th chapter to begin with. Very, very profound verse. And then we have a verse from the second chapter, 2 verses from the second chapter, and then one from the third chapter. And they were not taken in any specific kind of order. They were all, see, it's a tough task to even choose what is an important verse in Gita. Every verse is important, and even to pick up 108 verses, it's a huge task. So sometimes we think and take one verse and start to analyze it. That could tell the entire essence of not only Bhagavad Gita, but the entire Vedanta itself. In fact, in today's verse, we have such 4 profound verses. If you actually focus on this, get the inner essence of these verses and try and implement it somehow in your own life, this will cover the entire Vedanta. I was thinking how to connect it. So we have this shloka we have chanted earlier. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Here, Dr. Timapasar keeps repeating this. Krishna, in a way, fulfills 3 important runas, 3 important duties that is demonstrated in this shloka. One is the Pitrurana, Vasudeva Sutam Devam, and then Devaki Paramanandam. His parents are extremely happy about Krishna for whatever he does. And then he fulfills Lokaruna, the duty towards the society, by killing Kamsa and Chanura. So all the demons are killed. Therefore, all the good people are protected. And then he also fulfilled, Acharya Runa, or, Runa towards our Vedas, teaching, and the Acharya by becoming a Jagadguru. So you can see that in the 5 verses we covered today, the first verse talks about the essence of our true nature. The Brahma Vidya itself is given in the first verse, which will be presented by Shiv Kumar sir. And then we have the path of Karma Yoga, which will cover the Lokaruna as well as the Pitruruna. And then how does Krishna conduct himself? This is the last verse that is covered today is a greatest message for all the parents, all of us who are in holding some positions in our own office, at work, in the public life, at home. how to conduct ourselves. Again, Krishna led by example, covering the Lokaruna. So as a Sthita Prajna, how to, of course, Krishna is a Sthita Prajna, who are we to talk about it? And how do they conduct all of that, is covered in today's class. With that, we will go to our first speaker, Shiv Kumar sir, who will explain this brilliant mantra, verse 15.6. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Divakar. As Dr. Divakar clearly mentioned, this is one of the important mantras that we'll be studying. But though it is very profound, fortunate for us, Pujya Swami Paramarthanandaji has made it very simple to understand. Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Let me start. In the earlier shlokas, Bhagavan Krishna explained about samsara, and then he gave 4 disciplines for samsara nivritti. 1, vairagyam. Second is sharanagati. Third, acquiring or cultivating sadguna, sadachara. Fourth is the primary discipline, that is Vedantic inquiry, Shravana Manana Nididhyasana. The previous shloka concluded by saying that by following the 4 disciplines, the seekers will become wise, that is Jnanis. Thus, the benefit is tad avyayam padam gacchanti. They will attain Brahman, thus Moksha Prapti. Now proceeding to shloka 15.6. Na tad bhasayate suryo na shashanko na pavakaha yadgatva na nivartante tadhama paramam mama. Next slide, sir. In this shloka, Krishna explains the nature of Brahman, who is the substratum of the universe and the destination for us all seekers. This shloka is considered important as it is a Brahma lakshana shloka, which defines the nature of the substratum Brahman. This shloka is based on the well-known Upanishadic mantra, na tatra suryo bhati na chandra tarakam, nema vidyuto bhati kutoyam agnihi, tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam, tasya bhasa sarvamidham vibhati. This mantra is chanted in temples at the time of Arati and Deeparadhana to remind devotees of the principle. The mantra occurs both in Mundaka Upanishad and Kathopanishad. The essence is Brahman can neither be objectified by any instrument of knowledge nor illuminated by anything. To convey this idea, Upanishads use the example of light. Next slide, please. Light in Vedanta is that in whose presence things are known. Keeping this definition, the Upanishads point out that every sense organ can be compared to a light. Why are the sense organs pramanam or instruments of knowledge? And also, why are they called light? The sense organs through light of sound, smell, sensation, taste, colors, and forms make things known. It is in their presence that knowledge of objects are known. Even this presentation, a lecture, is a Shabda Pramanam, a form of light. Upanishads declare that there are many lights in the world, but no light can objectify that Brahman. Technically, an instrument of knowledge is called a Pramanam, the object of knowledge. Pramanam, and the object of knowledge is Prameyam. Lord says Brahman is never a prameyam. Brahma lakshanam is aprameyam Brahma. Sarva pramana agocharam Brahma. Next slide, sir. This leaves us with a question. If Brahman cannot be objectified through any instrument of knowledge, then does such a Brahman exist at all? Again, our Upanishads come to our rescue. They emphatically declare that Brahman exists. If Brahman is not an object of knowledge, but exists, then what is Brahman? According to Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, the only possible answer is because Brahman is the very subject. It is verily the conscious being which objectifies everything, that which can never be objectified. It experiences everything, but can never be experienced. It is the seer of everything, but can never be seen. Brahman is ever the subject and never an object. The saram or essence of this shloka is Brahma lakshana, is Chaitanya Swarupam Brahma. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Now, coming to the first line of this shloka, na tad bhasayate suryo, na shashanko, na pavakaha. This means that neither the sun, nor the moon, nor the light of a fire can illumine Brahman, Brahma Chaitanyam, the consciousness. On the contrary, it is Brahman or consciousness which illumines or makes known all the three. If that Brahman is consciousness, which can never be objectified, then that Brahman must be the very subject itself. This leads us to a very important point. As God is all-pervading, Vedantic merger is not a physical event involving time and travel, but reaching Brahman is simply an intellectual event by replacing ignorance with Jnana. Such knowledge-based merger is permanent. Next slide, sir. This, the Lord says, Yat Gatva, having merged into Brahman, na nivartante, that person does not come back again. Brahman, that Brahman is nothing but tad mama paramam dharma, my own higher nature. In the 7th chapter, Para-prakriti and Apara-prakriti, the higher and lower natures were discussed. Para-prakriti is Nirguna Nirvikara Satya Chetana Tattvam, and Apara-prakriti is Saguna Savikara Mithya Chetana Tattvam. Sri Krishna said that the body is my lower nature and the consciousness is my higher nature. Hence, the Lord says, Tad mama paramam dharma gatva yat na nivartante. It is my supreme abode, and attaining which they do not return. With this, the presentation ends, and we start with the teaching quiz. The questions are simple. I request Dr. Divakar sir to answer. The first question, referring to this shloka, what does lakshana mean? Please choose the correct answer from the following. First, defining characteristic of a person, object, or concept. Option B, distinctive traits or gestures or expressions of Natya Shastra. C, that which points towards something beyond the literal sense of words. D, none of the above.
I like your options. It is the option C, that which points towards something beyond the literal sense of words.
That is correct, sir. Next slide, sir. As we saw, lakshana means indication or defining pointer. Since Brahman cannot be grasped by the senses or the mind directly, the Upanishads give lakshanas, indicators, all through the scriptures to help us understand its essential nature. Choose the correct light from the following, which can illuminate to objectify Brahman. 1. Surya. B. Shashanka. C. Pavakah. D. Scriptural knowledge. E. None of the above.
It is the none of the above. As the shloka says, there is a na in front of every word. Na tad bhashayate suryo, na shashanko. So obviously, none of them can illumine Brahman.
That is correct, sir. There are very many lights in the world, but no light can objectify that Brahman. Next question, sir. Sorry, there seems to be a numbering mistake of the questions, but it is in sequence. If Brahman cannot be objectified through any instrument of knowledge, then does such a Brahman exist at all? If exists, then what is Brahman?
So as you mentioned in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad itself, Brahman is the very subject.
Correct, sir. Brahman is the very subject, the conscious being, which objectifies everything and so on, which we heard. Brahman is ever the subject and never an object. I am Brahman. Next question, sir. According to Bhagavad Gita, shloka 15.6, which of the following is not required to illuminate the Lord's lower nature? A, the sun. B, the moon. C, the light of fire. D, the Vedas.
Also, D, the Vedas, because Vedas are apaurushaya. Vedas is a separate pramana, but to see the lower nature of Brahman, which is nothing but the apara prakriti, our sense organs, we can see all of that.
Well explained, sir. As we saw in the presentation, consciousness, the Lord says, is my higher nature. My body is my lower nature. Hence, the Lord says, Tad Mama Paramam Dharma. It is my supreme abode, he pronounces. Vedas are not required to illumine this Sharira. Next question, sir. What happens to a Jivatma who reaches Krishna's supreme abode, Paramam Dharma? Option A, he returns after exhausting punya. Option B, he takes rebirth in a higher loka. Option C, he does not have a punarjanma. Option D, he becomes a deva.
So Krishna's supreme abode is nothing but Paramatma. So there is Jivatma, Paramatma, Aikya Vichara is there. And therefore, one has become Ajnani and Ajnana Nishta. Therefore, there is no Punarjanma. Option C.
Very correct, sir. Thank you. That brings us to the end of the quiz. Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Thank you, Shiv sir. That was a brilliant explanation. I don't think I need to really go in further. It's just that, as you have told, neither the sun nor the moon nor the fire illumines that which is my supreme abode. Abode is the Dharma, and Shankara Bhashyam, Shankaracharya says, abode here means Tejo Rupam or Swayam Prakasha, that self-effulgent. It does not require any other light to light this. So, and that is the self-effulgent nature of the Satchidananda Atma. So as you have mentioned, Swarupa Lakshanam of Brahman, which is Chit, so Swarupa is elaborated in this particular verse. So, and here, wherever there is a meeting, let us say there is a meeting of two people, there is samyogaha and there is viyogaha. But whereas some journeys have no return at all. As you have told, yit gatva na nivartante. There is no returning back or no forgetting once you have learned it. For example, if you have learned cycling or anything which is conditioned, it's very difficult to unlearn that. So I've put this optical illusion here. Some of you might have seen it already. Can you recognize something? There is another thing which is there in this picture. on the right side. If I point to you that there is a small baby here with this face, and these are the hands and these are the legs, now you can never forget it. You can never miss that. Until that time, if you had not seen this before, you would be searching what else is there. But once you get it, you cannot miss it. And such is this Brahma Gnanam. And once you get it, and you cannot miss it. So, and of course, those who abide to it through sadhanas, and those who have accomplished karma and upasana yoga, those who are sadhana chatushtaya sampannas, will never return back again to the samsara, and therefore they go beyond these karmas, and therefore beyond punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. So I've explained all of this. I don't want to be going into the detail. With that, now we go to the next verse, which talks about the karma yoga. See, not everybody is, even Arjuna found it difficult to grasp Jnana Yoga in the second chapter, and therefore Krishna had to take a step back. So this verse talks about Karma Yoga. So over to you, Vinayakan.
Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namah. So we are going back to second chapter. So after talking about the Jnana Yoga, which is the direct means of liberation, now Lord Krishna is going to talk about Karma Yoga, which is for preparing the mind for Jnana Yoga. If a person's mind is prepared for Jnana Yoga, he does not require Karma Yoga. But if the mind is not prepared, a person has to go through Karma Yoga. So it's a shift from Jnana Yoga to Karma Yoga. The verse goes like this. Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nistraigunyo Bhavarjuna Nirdvando Nitya Sattvasto Nidyoga Kshema Atmavan. An important sloga. Next slide, sir. Who can be a karma yogi? What is the personality of a karma yogi? What is the thinking pattern of a karma yogi? And what is the goal of a karma yogi? What is the attitude of a karma yogi towards the sense pleasures? So, first Lord Krishna says, Traigunya Vishaya Veda. Vedas do talk about a lot of activities for the fulfillment of Artha and Kama. Artha means wealth, Kama means pleasures or entertainment. Vedas talk about a lot of activities purely mean for fulfilling our need. This Krishna calls Traigunyam. And Nistraigunyo Bhava. Do not be carried away by the present pursuit of Artha and Kama alone. In worldly angle, for us, money and entertainment are necessary, but it cannot be considered the ultimate goal of life. More than that, we, the human being, are both for same other higher purpose, and that higher purpose is inner growth. If a healthy inner growth is there, even if wealth is not there, a person can enjoy. And even if inner growth is there, he can enjoy both the presence and absence of wealth. But if the inner growth is not there, then the wealth cannot offer much to that human being. So, next slide, sir. Nishkamo Bhava. Reduce those activities which are meant only for Artha and Kama. Reduce Kama karmas, reduce Rajasa and Tamasa karmas. Let there be an increase in Satvika karmas. That says Nirdandva. Nirdando Bhava. Dvanda means Mana Apamana, Labha Nashta, Jaya Apajaya. All these are called pairs. Nirdvando Bhava means strengthen the mind to such an extent that can withstand most of the ups and downs in life. So this all explains the qualities of a karma yogi. If we want to withstand all this, we require another important gate to be followed. That is Nitya Sattvasto Bhava. Maintain the Sattva Guna. Sattva Guna stands for Viveka Shakti, stands for discriminating power. That is, in life, Dharma and Moksha are more important than Artha and Kama. This awareness that Dharma and Moksha are important is called Nitya Anitya Vastu Viveka. Spiritual growth is more important than material growth. This awareness of giving more importance to spirituality is Sattva Guna. Nitya Sattvasto Bhava. Maintain the Sattva Guna. One important method to maintain the Sattva Guna is Satsanga. Nitya Sattvasto Nidyoga Kshema, and explains yoga and kshema, that is acquisition and maintenance. Lord Krishna says, to go beyond the Yogakshema. Drop the concern about Yogakshema by surrendering to Lord. Drop the anxiety. So in 9th chapter, Lord says, Ananyas chindayando mam yejana paripasate tesham nityabhyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyam. Lord says, I take care of the yoga and kshema. And finally, Atmavan. Atmavan bhava. Be alert in your life. Do not forget the goal. Make the mind accessible for spiritual growth. We'll go for the teaching quiz. So, based on this verse, there are four questions. One is, what is mean by the phrase Traigunya Vishaya Veda, and what is the consequence of focusing on these aspects?
Okay, so
Divagar.
Traigunya Vishaya Veda. Traigunya is Sattva, and Tamoguna. So all of them are dealt in the Karma Kanda, Veda Purva Bhaga of the Vedas. So of course Vedanta deals with Gunatita, is Traigunya. So focusing more on Veda Purva only will only mean that our bondages with Artha and Kama will continue. For that matter, even Dharma. So the prayers, as told in Kathopanishad, so we will be stuck in prayers, will not transcend to Shreyas.
Absolutely right, sir. I'll read the answer once.
Yeah.
So the phrase Traigunya Vishaya Veda indicates that a particular portion of the Vedas deals with the three gunas, Kami karmas and Prayaschitta karmas. For a serious seeker who wants moksha in this life, focusing on these type of actions is considered an incomplete application of bhakti or karma kanda. If these actions are used, they will perpetuate samsara. Punarapi jananam and punarapi maranam will continue. Next question, sir. Next slide. So, what primary instructions does Krishna give Arjuna immediately following the mention of the Vedas being related to the gunas? And what does this imply for the seeker?
So go beyond this gunas, nistraigunyo bhava. So I like the word bhava. Bhava also indicates that a component of free will is invoked. We all have fate and free will. Whenever there is bhava, it's a verb. So it is invoking, it is our responsibility to work on these gunas and focus on the gunatita. On the other hand, there is also sattva component. So you become nitya sattva by adhering to satsang and guru studies, etc. So here, go beyond gunas means focus more on the gnana yoga part, gunatita part. And to do that, we should have sattva qualities, and sattvic nature is required.
Absolutely, sir. I'll read the answer. So, as Divagar sir said, Nistraigunyo bhava implies that Arjuna should become nishkamo bhava, free from desires. For a serious seeker, this means they must give up all kami karmas and prayaschitta karmas, throwing away all requisition and vows from their life. This rule is given at the karma yoga level itself. So I'll go to third question.
And Swamiji also says we all can have desires provided they fulfill three conditions. It has to be non-binding, it has to be moderate. There is one more. So it has to be legitimate, non-binding, and moderate. So that is the challenge for all of us.
So the third question, what qualities prescribed in this verse by the term Nidhi Yoga Kshema, and why is this state essential for a spiritual seeker?
So yoga is comfort and kshema is making sure of all of our comforts are intact. So here it is saying you go beyond that. Leave all those things. You quoted that famous verse, Ananya Astyante and Toma. So let go of this yoga and kshema, and only then you can start to seek some things beyond. So again, the acronym that Swamiji uses commonly. I think you're going to expand on that, is it? Yeah.
The term Niryogakshema instructs the seeker to be free from the pursuit of yoga and kshema. This mindset is essential because a person's life is often entirely preoccupied with possession, obligation, relation, and transaction. This preoccupation prevents the mind from being available for spirituality. Therefore, reducing involvement in acquisition and maintenance is necessary for spiritual pursuit. Fourth question. So, what is the significance of the final attribute Atmavan in the description of the ideal seeker in this verse?
So here the word Atma in this context means mind. Make sure that the mind is focused, steadfasted on your goal, like mumukshu, and not get distracted in this path. And we all face these distractions, but we have to ensure that we come back on path quickly.
Yes, the word Atmavan means may you be endowed with a mind. This implies that one should have a mind that is available for spirituality. The commentary explains that if the mind is already stuck in port, it is functionally unavailable. So, being Atmavan means making the mind accessible for spiritual purpose. Thank you, sir. Thank you for answering all.
Thank you very much, Vinayakan. That was another very, very nice presentation. So you have covered everything. As a karma yogi, should karma yogi follow karma kanda or not? That is a question asked. The answer is really one should follow nitya and naimittika karmas. Nitya and naimittika karmas are nishkama karmas. They are non-binding karmas. We are not asking God, give me that, give me this. There is not even a sankalpa. It is all Parameshwara Pretyartham. So that is how we tell sankalpa there. Whereas when you are doing kamya karmas, and of course prashchitta karma you are doing in order as a remedy for some of the wrong things which were done previously, those things will need to be stopped. Okay, so nistraigunyo bhava is same as nishkama bhava, which means giving up all of our kamya and prashchitta karmas. Okay, get rid of the port gradually. That is the mantra. Work for success, but pray for the mental strength for accepting any result. This is karma yoga. Pray for the success. If you are praying for the success, you are a karmi, not a karma yogi. So this is a slide which talks about all the stages which are discussed in this particular verse. Nistraigunyo bhava, rise above the material goals. Then transcend the pairs of opposites. Nirdvandvo bhava. Then we go on to Nitya Sattvo Bhava, stay established in the purity through satsangs and anchoring to a guru. When you get a good guru, get hold and anchor to the guru. Go beyond the concerns of security. Nir Yoga Kshemo Bhava. And then be mindful and alert. Atmavan Bhava. So ultimate security does not come from what you possess, it comes from only your inner strength, which comes from the Gnanam. With this, we go to another very, very profound verse. It's often referred to as a googly verse. So we have a master who will present this particular verse. Dr. Anupama, please.
Thank you, sir. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, chapter 2, verse 69. The verse goes like this. Ya nisha sarva bhutanam tasyam jagarti samyami yasyam jagrati bhutani sa nisha pashyato munehe. So this verse is describing the glory of a sthira prajna. And who is a sthira prajna? He's a jnana nishta, a jivan mukta, a Sresta Purusha. And the glories of this Sthita Prajna are highlighted by contrasting him with an Ajnani. So, what do these two people, the Jnani and Ajnani, have in common? Both of them experience the same world and have their lot of prarabdha karma to endure. We must remember that Vedanta is making no attempt to either change the world or its people, but it trains us to alter our perception of this world and the people. And in this verse, Krishna shows us how the Vedantic perspective gives a diagonally opposite response in day-to-day experiences. We have to now compare the Jnani with the Ajnani. A Jnani in this verse is compared to a human being with Divya Chakshu. Why? Because he perceives Advaita, which is compared to daylight. The Ajnani with owl-like nocturnal vision, is awake to Dvaita, which is compared to night. Okay, a Jnani is awake to Advaita and an Ajnani to Dvaita. So one could either be a Jnani or an Ajnani, not both. Therefore, being awake or being perceptive of daylight, that is Advaitam, implies that one is asleep or non-perceptive of night, which is Dvaitam. A Jnani perceives Advaitam in every experience. Pratibodha viditam matam. What is Advaitam? It just means not two. Ekam evam. In the words of Yamadharmaraja, Neha nana asti kinchana. Nana means diversity. Dvaitam. A Jnani only sees Brahma Satyam, Jagat Mityam, no plurality, no Nama Rupa. Therefore, he exists in the binary format. The Ajnani, in contrast, like an owl, is unaware. That means he is asleep to daylight. He is asleep to the Advaita fact, Brahma Satya, Jagat Mithya. But he is awake. Awake to what? Perceptive of night, Dvaitam, which Yamadharmaraja describes as Yaha Iha Nana Eva Pashyati. He sees only Nama Rupa, plurality, and therefore he exists in the triangular format of Ishvara Jiva Jagat. Next slide, sir. So suppose both Ajnani and Ajnani were sitting by the seashore watching waves. The Ajnani would see plurality, Dvaita Anitya Tarangani. Extrapolating this to human beings, each wave means each human being to him will have an individuality. This generates port, what we just heard, raga, dvesha, and the world then becomes a source of joy when there is a child born, sorrow if we lose somebody, and therefore there are limitations, ups and downs. This is called samsara. In contrast, Ajnani sees Advaita. He sees Nitya Jalam. He sees only H2O, no individuality. Waves may come and go. They don't disturb him. This is called Sarva Brahmamaya Jagat. Next slide, sir. The first part of this verse was Ya Nisha Sarva Bhutanam. Who are these Sarva Bhutas? They are the Ajnanis. And what are they unaware, asleep, or Nisha too? They are unaware of Brahma Satyam Jagat Mityam. Ajnanis are asleep, unaware of Advaita Brahma. Why is it so? Because Advaita, we said, is compared to daylight, which nocturnal creatures do not perceive. They're asleep too. Next slide, sir. Tasyam Jagarti Samyami. Who are Samyamis? They are the Jnanis. What is the Jnani awake to? Jagarti. What does he perceive? What is he aware of? Tasyam. Tasyam here means Advaitam. That same Advaitam to which Ajnanis are asleep to. But what do these Ajnanis perceive? What are they Jagarti to? Yasyam Jagarti Bhutani. So here Yasyam means Dvaitam. Ajnanis are awake or they perceive only plurality. So what is the meaning of plurality? Plurality means the Nama Rupa Jagat, which is Mithya. As the Ajnani revels or suffers in this Nama Rupa Mithya Jagat, what does the Jnani do? Sa Nisha Pashyate Munehe. To that plurality or Dvaitam, the Jnani is asleep. He does not perceive. Like we have seen in Kathopanishad, Paranchikane Vyatrinat Swayambhu Tasmat Parang Pashyati. The Ajnani uses his sense organs only to look outwards. But Kaschit Dhiraha, like this Jnani, Avrita Chakshuhu. Avrita Chakshuhu means by ignoring, by remaining blind to this Dvaitam, Amritatvam Ikshan, he sees the immortal Brahma. Next slide, sir. So why should we change our perception from this Ajnani Dvaita to Dvaita Darshana to the Jnani's Advaita Darshana? Again, quoting Yamadharmaraja, he says, Mrutyoho sa mrutyum apnoti yaha iha nana eva pashyati. He who sees plurality or truth in the Nama Rupa Jagat suffers Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam, which we call samsara. Next slide, sir. Therefore, those absorbed in or those who have identified with Nama Rupa Upadhi, the Nana Eva Pashyati people only see mortality and suffer samsara. This is insecurity. Who needs this endless struggle? We all know that the mortal body cannot become immortal. So if I identify with Sakshi and just simply transact with my mortal body, I never would feel secure. After all, what is death? Vasahamsi Jnani. The beauty of it is when I identify with Sakshi, I look upon everybody else also as Sakshi. Last slide, sir. So, how does this Ajnani become Ajnani? Is there a passage, a tunnel, a corridor from Dvaitam to Advaitam? No. Advaitam always exists in the past, present, and future. There is no need to reach out for it. Reaching happens only by dropping the notion of Dvaitam, dropping the ignorance of Advaitam. Thank you, sir. Now for a few questions. A rapid fire, please say true or false, based totally on what we have just said. So this verse describes the glory of a karma yogi.
False.
A Sthita Prajna is a Siddha Purusha.
Yes, true.
The aim of Vedanta is to change the world.
Definitely not.
Here, a Jnani is compared to a human being.
Yes, it is, and Ajnani to a owl.
Advaita is compared to daylight.
Yes, that
A
is true.
Jnani perceives Dvaita.
No, he perceives Advaita.
A person could be both Jnani and Ajnani.
No, it's like saying day and light stay together.
Advaita means one of many.
Yes, it is one of many.
No. Ekam evam.
Ekam, one of many.
No,
Ekam eva.
it is just one.
It is just okay.
One
All right.
of many means you
As
can.
in, okay, I was thinking in the terms of Vishwarupa. So there is one in Vishwarupa, as in the essence of everything.
If we talk about Nirguna Brahma,
Yeah, there is only one.
yeah, it is just one. It is not a choice out of many. Okay.
Okay.
That's what I think, sir. So, Ajnani exists in the binary format.
Yes.
Ajnani is not aware of Dvaitam.
He is aware, but he is not identifying with Dvaitam.
He chooses not to.
Yeah.
This is because he experiences a different world.
No, he experiences same world as anybody else, but he sticks to Advaita.
Yes, sir. The Ajnani's world is diversified into Ishvara Jiva Jagat.
Yes, he remains in the triangular format.
Ajnanis do not perceive Advaita or daylight because their perception is diagonally opposite, like that of nocturnal animals.
That is true.
Plurality means Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya.
Plurality means Brahma Satya Jagan Mithya. No.
That's right. No. Okay. Shift from Dvaitam to Advaitam happens after crossing the ocean of samsara.
No. It is not an event which is going to take place.
You've answered them also. Thank you.
All right. So these are the statements. I'm just leaving it for the readers to read if they want to. Thank you very much, ma'am. Another very, very, profound verse and brilliantly explained. Okay, so you have covered everything here. So I've just put a couple of slides here just to reiterate on what you have already told. As you have said, the wise sage or wise Sthita Prajna, we're talking about somebody who's anchored in the Gnanam. He sees non-duality. So that is compared to a daylight. Whereas a individual, a Ajnani, a Jiva is compared to an owl, as if his ignorance is compared to the night. So there is darkness there. So he continues to identify in the limited form. So a Gnani is awake to reality and asleep to illusion. It is opposite for Ajnani. In Kannada, obviously for owl we call Gube. So generally, of course, it is not a right thing to do. When people scold somebody, they used to say in those days, Gube, for people to refer to somebody who's not so intelligent or not being smart enough. In some ways, we can look at it. So if we are continuing to identify ourselves as body mind, and the example given by Sri Krishna here as one of the owl. So I mean, you cannot miss that comparison. So as you have told, this is a wooden elephant. Looked from a far off place, it looks very scary, and that is scary for an Ajnani. For somebody who is, who has got the knowledge, who has come closer to that, is not bothered, because a Gnani realizes that it is harmless wood, but it's not an elephant. Another example to give, that's all. So you've covered this already. Wise person's day, whereas this is the ignorance night. With that, now we go to the last verse for today. Now, how does this Sthita Prajna conduct himself in the society? What is the role for this Sthita Prajna? So we have already seen the profound Gnanam in the form of Natatra Surya, that verse. And then aspects of Karma Yoga are covered. About a Gnana Nishtha we have seen. And what is the role for this Gnana Nishtha in this society? So that is explained here. And of course, you can, take it as a karma yogi also. Karma yogi with jnanam is also in a way liberated. So Purnima ma'am will explain this beautiful verse, which has a wider implication for our day-to-day life.
Thank you, Dr. Divakar. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Bhagavad Gita chapter 3 titled Karma Yoga primarily addresses Arjuna's confusion about whether the path of knowledge, Gnana Yoga, is superior to Karma Yoga, the path of action, and why Krishna is urging him to fight a terrible war. Next slide, sir. In the process of clarifying Arjuna's doubt, Krishna makes certain fundamentals very clear. There is no choice between Karma Yoga and Gnana Yoga. The essence of our scriptural teaching is follow Karma Yoga, acquire the necessary qualifications of purity of mind, maturity, and detachment, follow Gnana Yoga, and attain Moksha. Karma Yoga is incomplete without Gnana Yoga, and Gnana Yoga is not possible without Karma Yoga. Next slide. Verse 1 to 7 in this chapter talk about following both the sadhanas and be free. From verse 8 to the first line of verse 20, Krishna elaborately discusses the topic of Karma Yoga. Right action with right attitude is Karma Yoga. The attitude of dedicating every action to the Lord as Ishvara Arpana Buddhi and the attitude of accepting every experience as Ishvara Prasada Buddhi is Karma Yoga. From the second line of verse 20 up to verse 29, Krishna talks about the duties of a Gnani. Krishna does not say Gnani should not do karma. He says Gnani does not require karma. Gnani can do karma or he need not do any karma. But we find even self-realized souls who have no personal need to act continue to perform their duties. Why? Next slide. Krishna tells in the second line of verse 20, Loka Sangraham Evapi Sampashyan Kartum Arhasi. The Gnanis continue to perform their duties for Loka Sangraham. That is for the sake of upliftment of society, to set a proper example for the ignorant masses and prevent social chaos even if they don't have any purusharthas to achieve. Shankaracharya in his Bhashyam raises a question. Who is fit for doing Loka Sangraham and how should a qualified person do that Loka Sangraham? This is answered in the verse 3.21. Next slide. Yadyad acharati shreshtaha tattad eva itaro janaha sayat pramanam kurute lokastad anuvartate. The anvaya of the shloka is as follows. Yatyat shreshtaha acharati tattat eva itaro janaha acharati. Sayat pramanam kurute lokaha tat anuvartate. Yet, whatever Shreshtaha, great personality, acharati, performs, tattat eva, such actions alone, itaro janaha acharati, other people follow. Saha Shreshtaha, that great person, yet pramanam kurute, whatever standard he sets, lokaha, the world, tat anuvartate, follows that. Next slide. Now the first question is, who is fit for doing loka sangraham? A person of influence should and can do loka sangraham. What is the qualification? He has an influence. An influential person is the Shreshtaha. In the Bhashyam, Shankaracharya uses the word pradhanaha for influential person. In the Moolam, Shreshtaha is used. The Itaraha in the Moolam is denoted by Anyaha in the Bhashyam. Tad Anugataha means the others will also imitate and follow. Next slide. The second question. How should a qualified person do that Loka Sangraham? The best way is to lead by example. Actions speak louder than words. In the Bhashyam, Shankaracharya explains, Kincha, moreover, Saha Shreshtaha, that influential person, whatever standard he sets, Laukikam, Vaidikam Va, with regard to worldly or religious duties, the world Tadeva Pramani Karoti, they also accept that alone as the guideline. Next slide. In this verse, Krishna underscores a fundamental truth about human society, the powerful influence of example. The Lord highlights the ripple effect the Shreshtaha, the leaders, have on society. When someone distinguished or respected upholds a particular standard or behavioral code, it becomes a reference point for the rest of the community. Krishna's counsel has a special urgency on the battlefield. If Arjuna, a famed warrior and leader, refuses to perform his duty at a moment of crisis, his conduct will set a precedent for others. It may signal that it is permissible to withdraw from challenging responsibilities or abandon duties when difficulties arise. This single act, if left unchecked, could gradually undermine the collective sense of duty and resilience in society, leading to a breakdown of order and purpose. What is especially striking about Krishna's teaching in this verse is its universal application. Role models can be drawn from any walk of life: a saint, a statesperson, a celebrity, a parent, or a teacher. The standards set by those considered wise or worthy do not remain personal. They become templates for community behavior. Ultimately, this verse is a profound reminder that every action has the potential to inspire or mislead. It exhorts all, especially those in positions of influence, to act with integrity and purpose, for their lives become silent instructions for others to follow. The world often learns not from precepts, but from the lived practices of those it admires. In this way, Krishna's teachings extends much beyond Arjuna's immediate dilemma, offering timeless guidance on the formation of character and the stewardship of values in society. Here, I would like to say with deepest reverence that our Guru, Dr. Timmappa Hegde sir, is an exemplary Shreshtaha to whom I offer my humble pranams. Harihi Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Now let us take a simple quiz on this verse. What Sanskrit word is used in this word to refer to a teacher or leader who teaches by personal example?
This option C, Shreshtaha.
Correct.
Shreshtaha.
Correct, sir. Next question. What is the core message of verse 3.21? One should renounce all actions. B. Great people Shrestha's action become a standard for others to follow. Material desires are the root cause of all sufferings. Only priests are qualified to perform duties.
Option B.
Correct, sir. The third one. According to commentaries on this verse, who are considered natural leaders in society? Only politicians and royalty, only spiritual gurus and saints, sea kings, executive heads of states, father, mother, and teachers, only those who are wealthy and powerful.
Option C. You have explained this beautifully.
Correct. These roles are all seen as having a significant influence on others.
So all the CEOs in the companies, hospital managers,
Correct.
all the people who hold, societal position are all influential.
What is the potential negative consequence if a Shrestha fails to set a proper example? They will lose their material wealth. Society may fall into disorder and moral decline. They will be punished by their king or court of law. Nothing, as everyone is responsible for their own actions.
Option B. Society may fall into disorder
Correct.
and moral decline.
The verse implies that without proper leadership, society will lack standards and can become disorganized. It's a true or false question.
It is true. Lord Krishna uses his own actions as an example to
Correct.
illustrate the principle.
Correct. Then the last one is also true or false. The term Loka Sangraha in the context of Bhagavad Gita verse 3.21 refers to the personal liberation of a leader. True or false?
No, it's false.
Yeah, Loka Sangraha is about asking
Society.
for the good of society and guiding people on the right path. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. It was a beautiful presentation. You've brought in a lot of relevant topics which are necessary to be followed at home by parents, by teachers, all the people who are in a position in the society. And your words on Dr. Timmappa and all the Swami Paramarthananda. So they're all walking the talks, and therefore it is necessary that we kind of follow them. So this answers two questions: whom to keep as a role model for ourselves, and what is the role of a role model. Those who are in a position, both are covered beautifully in this particular verse. So, so Shri Krishna says any amount of preaching will not have that much influence. The most powerful influence is practice after preaching. Preaching is required a limited amount, but more than preaching or teaching, limited preaching and abundance of practice is required. So preaching plus practicing are the two methods highlighting that practice yadyad acharati. So know and think before talking, practice what you know and teach what you practice. And we have a lot of such good role models amongst our own satsang, and it is our fortunate indeed. So this is what you have kind of covered. What happens when the leader does not follow certain ethics? They are not in right order. The whole society, not only their immediate followers, but the whole society can go into a disorder. On the other hand, examples set at home, in the schools, in the society, if they are very good, especially if they are following some of these Vedika tattvas, so those which are there in the Sanatana, so they are likely to succeed in every facets of life, not only the spiritual side, but even in the material side. So with that, we come to this profound teaching of disidentification, how one can disidentify from the limited waveform and transcend to the water, which is the limitless, and it is beyond the birth and death. With this profound gratitude to all the teachers, I conclude. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. That was an amazing session. So we sincerely thank Dr. Diwakar sir for sharing his deep and thoughtful insights. We also thank all our speakers for their valuable contribution and making the session so enlightening. The question and answer session was also amazing and even more clarity and brightness to the entire satsang. We look forward to continuing this journey in the coming weeks. Selected Bhagavad Gita verses for daily living classes will be premiered every Friday at 6:45 p.m. We warmly invite you all to join us each week and grow in understanding together. Also, don't miss session 23 of the Manindam series on coming Monday, 15th December. Dear friends, before concluding the session, there is an important announcement. Our classes are completely free of cost. However, at Param Vedanta, we have a beautiful tradition of offering Guru Dakshina together to our Gurus on Gita Jayanti and Guru Purnima. As the Bhagavad Gita 18.5 says, Yagnadana tapakarma na tejyam karyam evatat, meaning charity, sacrifice, and austerity should never be given up. They purify even the wise. In this spirit, we warmly invite you to take part in this collective offering. All contributions will be humbly offered at the lotus feet of our Gurus. Please note that this is purely voluntary. There is absolutely no compulsion to contribute. Bank details are shown on the screen and will also be shared in our Telegram group. After making the transfer, kindly fill in the Google form. Link will also be shared in Telegram. Importantly, contribution must be made in INR from a bank account based in India. We thank you for all your love and support from Param Vedanta. Friends, let's conclude the today's session with the Shanti Mantra. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ